back to Independent Blazers. I'm Dan.
I'm Joe, and today's topic is today's topic, Dan?
About what we think should be done about education reform. This is opinion based only. But before we get into it, Joe,
Please like, share, subscribe, bang the notification button, pass out to your family and friends, share the video, please. It helps us and it also helps you. And Dan, this is a hot topic.
yes. A lot of people are dissatisfied with the education system in America. I cannot speak for other countries, I can only speak for the United States.
Right.
All right. We think about all the problems that have been going on, and I struggled in school when I was younger. How about you, Joe? Did you struggle in school?
I struggle big time in certain subjects, and I did a video recently about the autism, and I think I had ADHD when I was younger. So yeah, in certain subjects, I definitely struggled. I still struggle in certain things today. And the thing with U.S. education, Dan, I know we're going to dig deep into this. Every state has their own education standards, I believe.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. And it goes to extreme one way or the other. Okay, there's some that, in contemporary times, people are using woke culture and basically criticizing everything that was ever done. But then there are other states that indirectly justify things like slavery or downplay it at the very least, or downplay Native Americans that got massacred and whatever. And I don't like either side. I think history, for one thing, should be taught objectively as possible with as many different points of view as possible.
Well, I think history should be both the good and the bad should be taught. It should be taught in its purest and naked form. And what I mean by that is, look, if the history is bad, then say it as it is. If it's good, then teach it like that.
Well,
the good, the bad, and the ugly. And avoiding history is never a good thing, because if you don't know history, especially as a country or a nation or as a people, you could be doomed to repeat it, especially the bad.
Oh, right. You see, first, a lot, even in California, there was a lot of bad parts of history that I was not taught. And then I learned the bad side, and I felt like I'd been lied to in reality. But then those who taught me the bad side were also lying or withholding information or just refusing to acknowledge it themselves. And I think, no, we have to look at as many sides of it as possible and let the listener or the reader come to their own conclusions. Because if we expect every listener to come to the same conclusions as us, we wouldn't be educators, we'd just be brainwashers.
Right. A lot of education institutions in the United States, whether they're universities, whether they're high schools, they become breeding grounds for indoctrination.
They do.
Students are supposed to be going to school to be educated, not indoctrinated.
That's right. Unfortunately, people were indoctrinated in the old days and today. As of today, it is woke culture. In the old days, during the Cold War, it was the right wing that more had control of the education system. For example, today, a lot of professors lean towards Marxism. If this were the 1940s or 50s, a professor could be fired for just mentioning the name of Marx. But today, a lot of professors who are Marxists will give a hard time to students who do not agree with them, or will humiliate them, will deduct their grade whenever they have a chance. Neither side is nice. I like being able to question it, even if the instructor is offended. I think we should always question.
Not only do you want to learn how to read, sometimes you want to learn how to question what you read. Have the ability to have the question. And in whether it's university or high school, especially your mind is developing when you're becoming a teenager, even from a young age actually, you shouldn't be afraid to question the teacher or to push back. And when I mean question, I don't mean being disrespectful to the teacher, but maybe have a different opinion or have the instructor, the professor, or the teacher explain that opinion. And what's happening is a lot of people are afraid to express themselves nowadays.
They are. And sometimes you can tell that the teacher has such a bias. All right, I personally believe this, that if I were a teacher today, what I would do, if I wanted to really get opinions on a subject, I would give news articles from a variety of different sources. Okay, some very right-leaning, such as Fox News, OAN, but some very left-leaning, such as MSNBC. They would all talk about the same topics, have the students read it, and analyze for themselves and see what was this person missing? What was this source missing? What was this source missing? What did these people focus on? What did these people ignore? If people really wanted the truth, I mean, come to their own conclusions.
Another issue as is not just indoctrination, but one size does not fit all when it comes to learning. You can see like places like Finland and other places, their education system is vastly different than ours. Germany has a different type of education system. And I think the U.S. can learn from all different parts of the world. Like in Japan, for example, a lot of times, I noticed this when I was stationed over there. My friend had three Japanese kids and married. He invited me to school one day. It was like a parent day. And they invited me to tag along. And one thing I found interesting in the Japanese school is they didn't have janitors in this school. You know why?
Because the kids clean. Because the kids clean the classroom.
Actually, the teacher also cleans. It's to build community and teamwork. And each class takes a turn preparing the lunch in the cafeteria. So it teaches community and shared responsibility and value. So I thought even that lesson itself, I found it fascinating.
Yeah, that is fascinating. I like that. I wish people would be taught more about community. Unfortunately, the message I got, not of the particular schools I went to, but just overall, the message I got with our system was more like a rat race when we were younger. It was pretty much the message I got was do this exact way by this exact time, or you're no good, you're too slow, you're a loser, or you like to make problems. I mean, I heard. And I don't think but some things I was excellent at, some things I was terrible at. And unfortunately, that's not I don't think that makes productive citizens at the end of the day.
Well, again, in America, for example, there's so many subcultures, from the East Coast to the West Coast. You grew up, obviously, in the West Coast. I grew up on the East Coast. Mm-hmm. And probably between the coast and the different states, the curriculum is probably a little different.
But that one part, though, everybody I know who grew up in America, regardless of where, they said they felt that exact same thing. They do something exactly a certain way, or you're pretty much left behind.
Yeah, I mean, I felt that too. Like I said, knowing what I know now, if I can go back and tell my younger self, armed with the knowledge. But back then, we all live and we learn, we grow up. And again, people learn at different paces. People, one size does not fit all. I'll tell you this, Dan.
Yeah.
If it was up to me, there would be shop class, economic, shop like woodwork, learning how to change a tire, how to balance a checkbook. That would be in the school system if I had anything to do with it.
Joe, that is totally my view. I would have both home economics and shop classes, but get this, I would want every student to take both. So that would be both would be completely gender neutral and both would be required to give
basic life skills,
basic life skills both in and out of the home. Those who want to get their hands dirty could. Those who don't like to, they'll learn they don't like to. Those who want to stay at home, good for them. And those who don't like staying at home, also good for them. The point is, they get a sense of how to live and get good education.
The other part of this, there's also, there should be physical education. I think most schools still have that. I heard some are doing away with it, but you need physical education. I think sports you can learn I understand not everyone's in the sports, but there is some elements you can learn from, like teamwork and completing a goal. When I played football, I did learn about, it takes a team. We got to for the quarterback to complete the pass. The line's got to block. Right. The running back, the receiver's got to catch the ball. So every position's important. You learn responsibility and teamwork.
Yeah. By the way, before we got off the topic, as you were saying, one size does not fit all. I think every student should also be given aptitude tests. Why? Because it will.
I agree with that.
Yeah, thorough ones. I took an aptitude test about 15 years ago. 14 years ago. I'll tell you, I wish I had had that opportunity when I was a kid. So I would have had a better idea what to focus on and what not to. But I also think the school system should cooperate and say, okay, these kids would be better off in these types of classes or this kinds of subjects. Not everyone must do the same thing the same way. And
I have one for you.
what's that?
What about patriotism in schools?
I had mixed opinions on that one, and I'll tell you why. The only time I remember standing for the flag was when I was in second grade. But as I said the words, I had no idea what I was saying. I had no idea. I didn't know what the words pledge or allegiance meant, and I was saying it basically like a parrot. And something else. A lot of Americans who say bring patriotism back in school, when they see other countries do it, they've referred to the kids in those schools as quote unquote brainwashed or indoctrinated. I'm like, well, yeah. When we see other countries do it and stand for the flag and just recite their anthem and all that, it looks kind of strange to me.
Yeah, when I was growing up, we pledged allegiance to the flag. I had no problem with it. But I get it. People can be overbearing on it. I get what you're saying, but I don't. The schools I went to, we did the Pledge of Allegiance in the morning, and then before homeroom, and then that was it. It wasn't like, hey, pro America down your throat. Neither. I do think it's good to have some basic respect and.
Right, but how about a little kid saying the word Pledge of Allegiance, meaning that that kid doesn't have an option. And number one, and number two is it's very likely they don't even know what they're saying.
Well, what do you think? It should be mandatory or voluntary?
That's a good question, and I've one of the. I don't have a quick or easy answer for this one, but all I can say is when I said before, when I see other countries doing it, I've heard very proud, patriotic Americans, by the way, say, "Yeah, look at them. Look what they do. They blindly salute their flag. They recite something like parrots, like robots." I'm like, and to me that they didn't see the irony, the hypocrisy in that.
What about here's another one? Yeah, I think. Look, I personally have no problem with it. And by the way, for those of you watching out there, remember this is opinion based.
Mm-hmm.
You have a right to yours. You can disagree with us. Just be respectful.
That's
So yeah, I have no problem with saying the Pledge of Allegiance personally. Again, what about this one, Dan? Prayer in schools.
okay. I believe in the option. But a state-led prayer, no. And and something else. Okay, I've heard cases where in the Bible Belt or places like it, Christian students were allowed to pray, but people of other faiths were not. Then I've heard more leftist places say Muslims were allowed to pray, but Christians were not. And I say no.
I think it should be optional. Whatever your faith is.
Right.
The Constitution does allow for freedom of religion. Yeah, there is a separation of church and state. You can get into all that. I just think it should be optional. If you want to pray, you pray. You don't, you don't.
I fully agree. I say if you're going to let one pray, let everyone pray. And people who don't pray, give them the option. But pray and using religious quotations in a public school, that's where I have to draw the line.
Yes, and I think in some instances in school, teachers have overstepped their boundary. We talked about this earlier here about indoctrination. I don't think it's the teacher's right to indoctrinate or to try to overstep their boundaries with the student. I believe the parents have a responsibility to raise that child. I understand there may be cases, maybe some parents are neglecting, maybe a teacher has to step in on something, but the overarching, I think, look, man, it's the parent's responsibility. This teacher's job is to teach whatever, whether it's English, math, history, and it's the student's job to learn.
Right. One thing I've struggled with for years, one concept though, okay, education is compulsory. Yet there were a few centuries ago, very few people could go to school. No, not even that long ago. What am I talking about? And I think, now one would tell the other. People who didn't have the option to go to school would tell the people who had to go how lucky they were. But how much is something a privilege if you don't have an option? If you don't get to say no, it's hard to call it a privilege.
Well, again, this goes back to it used to be in the old days, maybe even 40 years ago. Hey, go to school, go to college. That's the ticket to success. I don't think it's necessarily like that anymore. Look, college is great. Don't get me wrong, but maybe someone wants to be a plumber. Maybe someone wants to be a truck driver. Maybe someone wants to join the military.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with that at all.
No. In fact, go to trade schools. If you want to be a plumber, an electrician, or truck driver, whatever. Go to a trade school. They can teach you a lot. You won't come out with crazy debt. Unfortunately, a lot of Americans who go to universities nowadays, they get a lot of useless degrees and then they're deep in debt. And
Yep.
and they have a hard time getting a job to pay it back.
Right.
Yeah.
That too. Student debt's a problem. That's a whole other issue. But there is trade school. There's nothing wrong with being a mechanic. There's nothing wrong with, hey, if I want to be I want to be, like I said, I want to be a truck driver. I want to be a motorcycle mechanic or a heavy diesel mechanic. Those are excellent professions.
Yeah. I thought of another one. For those who want to join the military but aren't really sure, I think ROTC classes should be better promoted in both schools and community colleges and universities. In fact,
Yeah.
some places I looked up do have military science courses. I think that's a good way to give someone an idea of whether or not they want to do that with their lives for 4 more years.
Yes, or maybe some schools now they have trade. I know in New Jersey, there in some areas in New Jersey, I know a friend of mine lives there. His daughter is studying to be a mechanic, and she's learning it in school. So some of the higher end public schools have this where you can start learning a trade. Like I said, one size does not fit all. So we all have different gifts and abilities. Well, again, I'm not going to pretend to know every state. And the only reason I knew about this because I'm good friends with a guy from New Jersey. His grandkids are going. They live in New Jersey along with his son and his daughter-in-law. They're in a high-end New Jersey neighborhood, and their kids are learning, like the daughter's learning a trade. He told me about it, and I looked it up, and it's true. Some of the higher-end, some states may have those trade programs there already, but maybe some of the poorer states and the poorer neighborhood schools don't.
Mm-hmm. Here's another one I thought about. How about teaching kids about financial literacy?
Yeah, I agree. Checks are becoming obsolete, but how to balance a budget? You get a paycheck.
How to invest? Learn about the secrets of investment. Teach about people like Robert Kiyosaki. Was that his name? Yeah, the guy, Rich Dad Poor Dad. Balancing budget, the whole bit.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Financial literacy. We talked about a little bit ago. We talked about shop and mechanics, home economics. Yeah, I believe all this stuff should be available. And the thing with America, we spend so much money actually on education. And again, where's it all going? So that's a whole other issue for another day, obviously. But the education itself, I think, as time goes on, we're living in a time where technology is expanding rapidly. And for example, coding. I don't even know. My coding may even be outdated now.
Yeah, I heard, but I can't confirm it. But apparently, AI is taking over coding nowadays.
So, but we have to, the education is going to have to adjust as the world adjusts. And, and it's not an easy task.
No.
It's a challenge.
It's going to be it's a challenge. And I mean, as far as how to teach STEM as in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, I don't have any comment on that because none of those are my specialty. But how to teach humanities, how to teach history, geography, and all that, there could be a better way. Because look, what does the average American know about geography? I mean, the average American, their knowledge of geography is really limited. And
I do know this. We have a lot. We need to improve our education system in the United States. This is not. I'm not even talking from a political perspective. I'm just saying overall, it needs to be improved, and there definitely needs to be some serious reforms. And there's no simple answer for it. It's no simple answer. It's not easy, but something needs to be done, especially the day and time we are living in.
Right. Neil deGrasse Tyson commented and said, "Look at all the people who cheat. The fact that so many people are cheating should be a sign that we need to do something. We need to make changes because that should set off alarm bells right there. The number of students cheating just to get by."
Yeah, And we can. There's other parts of the world we can look to. Finland's one, Germany, and again, I'm not saying these countries are perfect. I'm not endorsing any politics. I'm just talking getting ideas to help improve our education system. Japan, heck, I've taught inside the Thai schools. There's some things in Thailand I like, and there's things I don't like. But the point is that we can learn from these other parts of the world. Dan, anything else to add? Is there anything else?
Oh, yes. Languages. Now, I believe Americans should be at least bilingual. And why? To keep up with European standards. For example, in the Netherlands and in Scandinavian countries, people will learn their native language first, then English, and they're fluent in English, and then a third language. But I think just learning English and then a second language, either French or Spanish, but being fluent in it, French, Spanish, Portuguese, German, I don't know. But I think being fluent in at least one other language besides English would help people a lot.
I agree. I agree. It can never hurt. I mean, everyone has different abilities. Some may pick up a language faster than others. And again, there is challenges. But yes, I understand where you are coming from on that point, I should say. So again, education, not an easy challenge. It's not easy. There's no quick fix. There's no simple answer to it. These are just our ponderings, our thoughts, and our opinions. We also would like to know your opinion.
Yes, we would. Your opinions will help us a lot. And we'd like to do further discussions and debates on this, not just with each other, but with guests as well.
Yes, in the future, for sure. We'd love to have some experts on here and debate it. So, anything else to add, Dan?
One thing, with or without further education, grab your independent mind and blaze.
Have a great night or day wherever you're at in the world. Take care.